immediate opportunity fund for a $1 million grant towards this project, and also for an exchange of 60 FTEs, which is the same 60 FTEs that I mentioned earlier. And then the third agreement is between the city and SnowTemp. So, and the part of the agreement is that SnowTemp will be carrying over the loan for the $1,769,000, and also generating the 60 FTEs equivalent that we mentioned in this project. Before you, you have a resolution authorizing the city manager and other city officials to sign these agreements with two state agencies and also with SnowTemp. And we have with us here Jason Lafferty, he's the CEO of SnowTemp, Nate Possessi, which is a project manager for SnowTemp, and Seth Sherry, our economic development manager, in case you have additional questions.
So this is what was discussed Monday in the work session.
Yeah, correct.
And there's attachments A, B, and C, which are all incorporated in the resolution that was on the dais.
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
There's a motion and second to approve. Any discussion on the resolution? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So moved.
Okay, thank you.
Jason, you'll get home before dark. Okay, next then is the code enforcement team, and Chris is back there. I guess he's working his way up.
Here we are for the 19th time. Our team has put in 19 years of service, and we are ready with our annual report. Things have changed over 19 years, and I know you're all aware of those, but I wanted to point out a couple of things that the makeup of the team at this point includes the original members, the original departments that have been involved all along: police, fire, building, the city attorney's office. Thank you to city prosecutor Jessica Hansen. She's currently our assigned attorney, and she does a wonderful job for us. She's a go-getter with foreclosures and keeping track of defendants and making sure that people are held accountable for what they are responsible for. We have new members this year. Our environmental services manager and our development services manager have both joined the team to keep track of other codes in addition to just the municipal code and the development code. We have been aided this year by the passage of the chronic nuisance properties and derelict structures ordinances, and have been especially grateful for the change in the grass and weeds abatement ordinance. We don't have to wait for fire season anymore. Fire season doesn't wait for the weather anymore either, but we can enforce this year-round. And Chris has been diligent about sending out letters when he gets reports of grass that's more than 10 inches tall, and there's a lot of that. Not as much as there would have been if we didn't have this ordinance. People are pretty good about cutting it when we tell them to. If they don't, we cut it for them. We send them a bill, and generally we are reimbursed. We've got a pretty good track record for getting paid back for the abatements that we do, as we have reported here. At the end of the fiscal year, we had received over $17,000 in grass abatement repayments, and had also totaled by that time over $22,000 for derelict structure fees. One of our big accomplishments this year was finally seeing the end of the demolishing of the last duplex on Jefferson Court. We were into it for $33,000. We got a check for that when the property finally sold at a sheriff's auction as a result of our eventual foreclosure on that. So that was done. Turn it over to Chris now. He's the guy who does the work.
I'm just going to go over some of the houses we've been working on that have kind of gone to an end. So this one's still working.
Yes.
This one's been on there, I think, well before I started. Yeah. The owners of this property haven't lived at the house for 7 years. They've had people breaking in. There's black mold throughout. The house is kind of packed about ankle to knee high based on where you are with paper and trash. It's just a junk house. Mice, rats, all that kind of stuff. Neighbors in the area we're talking about. And the garage is collapsing in on itself and full of items. So we just had them boarded up. They're currently working on applying for a demo permit and plan on building 2 brand new duplexes there for rent. So.
Question on that.
Yeah.
So the owner can't seem to take care of this property, yet he's going to demo it and build a duplex?
It's actually her son-in-law. He works construction, so it's going to be selling it to him. But that hasn't gone through yet, so I'm just saying it's them until they actually prove it not to be. So they're not off the hook as far as getting all that stuff done. We just aren't kind of hammering them as they have moved forward, as requested they do certain things. So.
Is there a way to push them into the demo mode?
The only way is if people started breaking in again and it became more of a increased hazard. But no, not really. They've taken care of the other issues that were on the outside, so not much. This one definitely, I know for at least 5 years has been an issue for the PD. 3 brothers lived on this property. They, on the off chance, like each other, but most of the time hate each other. So we had, there was a letter?
We had letters from neighbors and emails, and the mayor received a package of information, including photographs of the property about, what, 9 months ago?
Something like that. So the brothers were mad at the brother in the back, so they put a drugs for sale sign pointing to the back lot, and then there's some fires started by brothers towards other brothers, and they had thrown the one brother's boats, or sunk them kind of, and then they were left there to rot. Bought up a bunch of junk cars, filled up the property, and we were out there for different issues.
94
fighting.
calls in the last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's on there, let's see. 81 calls in the last 2 years, and over the last, I want to say it was 6 years, there was about 300 and something calls to this property. So they're pretty active brothers. Well, based on those, we got chronic nuisance and dangerous building. I called their mom, who actually owns the property, silly that is. I talked to their mom. She came down and she said she was tired of it. She wanted to just live her retirement happily. So we worked with her to get them evicted from the property. She's currently selling the property. Today they were doing an appraisal. And if you go to the next slide, this is how it looks currently. So they took the boats out. They cleaned off the whole property, mowed the grass and all that fun stuff. And hopefully within the next 2 weeks, they'll be closing on that deal. And the new owner plans on getting in there. And they're not really sure with the front building. It might be salvageable, but they're going to demo the back house and then redo the garage area and all that other stuff. They're just not sold on demoing the main structure yet, but rebuilding and taking on the whole property.
So Chris, is this, I think I know where this one is. Is it a deep property with that house in front, or is that house in front a different owner?
No, yeah, they're both the same. They're 2 different lots, but the same owner. So there's a house in the front, and then they sublet the lot, and there's a house in the back. They did that when the brothers started fighting. They sublet the lots.
Yeah, and then what about okay, does the driveway go right into the middle of the property, or is it to the left?
Yeah, the driveway goes, the house is here, and the driveway goes straight down the middle.
Okay,
And then
all right, 'cause
the
I
front
wondered.
house owns the front half, in the middle, the back house just owns a little section. It's not even, I think, like 4,000 or 5,000 square feet, just a little tiny lot in the back.
Yeah, because it's, you put a lot of stuff on a little piece of property.
Oh yeah, I think it ended up being, I want to say 120 yards of trash that they pulled out of there, plus 6 or 7 vehicles and the boats and all that other fun stuff. So this one has been around, we talked about it today.
Yeah, it was one of the first cases, either the first or second year that we started the code enforcement team. 21 Thurston Street had a tenant who was living there rent-free in exchange for remodeling the house for the owner, and the remodeling was never finished. The property was always covered with stacks of construction materials, and got lots of complaints from from neighbors. This is on the Thurston Canal between 2nd and 3rd, and another house was at the front facing 3rd, same lot. But we had to declare 221 dangerous building and closed it after the last tenant.
Yeah, he was
had to
ill.
go For illness.
Yeah, they brought him to the hospital. The house was at a 3-inch lean, and the top floor was giving way, so they wouldn't let anyone on the top floor. He was kind of a hoarder, and it was just packed full of stuff. So, yeah, and then they're currently finishing up the front house. Yeah. This one, 2223 Lafayette. Another hoarding situation there. The shrub in the front that you could see on the top left photo, it ended up having about 40 yards of trash in it. It was literally the whole front. You had to go around back the house, and then it had a little canal that cut through the bush to get to the front door, is how you got into that house. So his son got power of attorney, and he went off to a care home. And the son just let it go back to the bank. Well, the bank wasn't going to do anything. I'd contacted them 3 or 4 times, and they were just, we'll cut the grass, have fun. So we actually paid for the abatement, cut out all the front, took away all the trash. I think it ended up being just over 40 yards. It was something like 50 yards of trash. And we did the back too, because we had multiple reports of people breaking into the shed and using it as a squatting area. And I think this one we've been paid back on.
We have that.
Yeah. So this one's fully taken over from the bank, and now we got our money back. This one's our most recent one. This lady had dementia, and her kids took her off to Wyoming and just let the house go back to the bank. So we've had people kicking the back fence, breaking the windows, breaking the sliding glass door. Neighbors were getting upset, obviously, and went over there with tools and pretty much drilled every door shut. And then they called me. And today, if you go to the next one, we actually just finished the abatement of it. So this one, now that we're done with abatement, we're going to actually be moving forward with foreclosure. I've talked to the bank on the phone, through emails, certified letters. I mean, they refuse to move on anything. Every time I talk to them for the past, I think it's been 4 months now, they're like, oh, we're out for bids, we're out for bids. So we just kind of said that's enough, especially with all the break-ins.
Chris, one of the things I think a while back, we authorized you, as you asked for, to use some Lexan plastic or something to
Yes.
board up windows and things like that. Has that process started now?
It has, we haven't used it on any of our houses yet, but the code's active, we just haven't used it yet. This one, since that code, it's for the front of the house, the only way they're getting into this house was in the back. The 2 front doors have the security metal doors, so I figure that's a little better than the plexiglass or polycarbonate. This house also been on the list.
So how long do you think foreclosure will take on these houses?
So on the Jefferson Court one, it wasn't that long. You might recall, it was like, what, 4 or 5 months?
Once we took it over.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the process from start to finish was years, but
Yes.
The actual litigation, once we filed the lawsuit, it was, 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, which is kind of what we were talking about this today in our office. We're moving towards more of a, listen, get it done. If you don't, we're just going to move forward with it, because the number one thing I hear is always, oh, we're out for bids. And, 1 month to a year, these bids are going on. It's just stringing you along. So once they meet the deadline, we just go forward.
So are they going to be right back to where they were in a year's time, piled with stuff and junk?
Oh, we don't stop
Squatters?
maintaining them. And
So you're keeping track of them, so
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't fill up with camps?
yeah, so this one, the one on 4th, I go to some of them weekly and some of them monthly, depending on how much activity we have.
Good.
And then we have a list in daily briefings of all the houses that we have issues at. So officers during night shift and during day shift do security checks there, so that we're not having the issues reoccur. And if it's declared a derelict structure, you're not allowed to occupy it, so we could then remove people, therefore removing the responsibility of the bank, who won't press charges.
Yeah, with our lack of affordable housing, I would think it'd be a shame to allow these to go down further and have to be demolished eventually.
No, that's our goal, is to not let it get that far.
Good.
So Arlington, this house burnt down, I want to say 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. I know I was still in dispatch when it did. It's been a long process. They've been in probate forever. Finally, they finished probate, but they weren't taking action. So I ended up citing the children of the deceased. And then they hired finally a company to come out. They've taken away, I believe it was 80 yards of trash off this property. What had happened is they hired ServPro when the fire occurred to go in. ServPro took everything out of the house and just dumped it in the back. The only thing that was left inside was, I think it was 4 pianos or something like that. So now they've maintained it, they've cut it down, took out all the junk and trash, resecured the building, and they're currently getting a bid to demo it. And the property is also up for sale. When I had cited these people, it was at $165,000, I think, for the cost of the property. And when they got the citation, they dropped it to $125 to try to get rid of it faster. So now they're thinking about demoing it, which they're already paid for, or go out for bids for, and then they're going to try to raise the price again so that the person who buys it doesn't have all that extra work and hopes to get a little more money out of it. And that's it.
Any questions? I had one on 105 Columbus. And, the bottom line is that it's been boarded up. So do they plan to demo it or sell it, or?
The daughter is the one that owns it now. Her plan is to demo it. It's really, there's no livable room in that house because of how many modifications have been made to it. Sadly, it's a thing of dementia, and he's just kind of let everyone be caretakers, and they covered up egress, made random rooms throughout. They lowered ceilings in certain areas, so they cut wiring. The guy who actually came to help when we were boarding it up got shocked multiple times because of how poor the wiring is. So the daughter's just going to move for demo and then rebuild, and then sell is her plan.
Okay. Any other comments?
Thank you for the yeoman's job you folks are doing.
And Marilyn, I appreciate the staff update. I failed to mention your name as I was calling Chris up, but there's an awful lot of people involved that make this work and help clean up some of these places in the city, so appreciate
Well,
it.
we've had the support of every department that's involved for all this time. They've had dedicated staff on the team, and it truly is a team effort. Chris does an awful lot of the dirty work, but we all participate in discussions and decisions and deciding which cases need the most attention.
I did have one question, Bill, I'm sorry. With the budget, and you said that it doesn't look it's not as grim as it appears. So this takes us through June 30, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
we're
so
under
we
budget.
still had like $1,500, but then there were more monies coming in, so does that money come here to this budget, or does it go to other
It goes
places?
into the general fund, but it is separated out into separate revenue line items.
Okay, so I want to make sure that we keep this funded because it's doing such good work, and so the results are really showing.
Thank you.
You're
We're doing a good job of recovering actual costs for
Yeah.
work that we contract for, and then when we attach fines and liens, we also charge 30% to cover staff costs.
Oh, good, good.
30% administrative
Yeah.
fees.
Good job, good job.
Yeah. Keep after those pigs.
Well, they're not fans of mine. I said they're not fans of mine.
Well, I'm not a fan of them. They're a blight on our community.
Yeah, we have, the one that is on Fourth is currently in the foreclosure process.
Good.
We have, it's something like $50,000 in liens on that property, based on our, per violation of Title 18, you can do $500 a day. That one's added up to $1,000 a day.
Right.
The pink house that you saw up there, that one actually has 8 violations, so it's at, $4,000 a day. I think that one's up to something like $120,000.
Yeah.
Pretty high up.
And they're paying it, or we're gonna have to sue them?
So that one we lien, and then that's what we foreclose on, is all their fines.
Is there a violation for the color?
Well,
Sorry.
They're not the bank, yeah, it's not the buyer.
It-
Color is
Right.
long as I
So
live
we've
in Albany.
I live on Jefferson.
Okay.
I had a quick question. I just noticed the last one, I was flipping there in Ada, and it says
Oh.
the owner is back.
The one on Ada? Oh,
Ada.
yes.
It's
So,
not- Are we talking about,
The Lemon House?
yeah,
no, Christine Lemon's not back.
okay.
No, she's still, from what I know, in Lebanon.
Okay.
There's
So it's
another
just-
house on Ada at the end that
Oh, okay,
we
okay.
did
Got
remove
it.
people from.
Okay. Got worried there for a second.
No,
Okay.
there's two on Ada that have
Yeah.
had some fun.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
IMF is going to be moved to the July 23rd work session, so that brings us to business from the council. Bessie, anything tonight?
No, I'm fine.
Dick, how about you?
Is July 23rd
This is
already
right.
passed?
Yeah, that was Monday night. You'll have to reschedule it again.
Oh, glad you keep me honest up here. I think what we decided to do on that was have it on the agenda for the next meeting when the mayor is back. Is that correct?
That's what I thought,
Okay,
yeah.
thank
I
you
don't
for,
have anything better.
thank you then, okay. Rich, Ray, Mike,
No.
all right, Peter.
Yes, sir. I had the occasion to attend the OCMA conference in Bend a week and a half ago, and hear Mike Cully, the new executive director of the League of Oregon Cities, speak for a bit. And I wanted to just put in a plug with all of you for the League of Oregon Cities Conference on the 27th and 28th of September. He's going to be there, and what he had outlined for all of us was a change in the league's approach to how they do business, and I think you would all be very interested in hearing from him. And the second thing I wanted to bring up was just you voted on Monday night to give me a 12.5% increase in my compensation. I wanted to express my gratitude for that, very much so. I consider it a vote of confidence, and I'm very appreciative. However, I would like you to consider perhaps, and if you approve of it, to vote to indicate that increase be 7.5% rather than 12.5%. And my reasoning for that is because as as I've spoken to you during budget committee meetings and at other times, we are facing a pretty serious set of challenges to our budget, and I would rather take that 5%, if it was up to me, I would take that 5% and put it into our reserves. As I've told you many times, I feel that's a big priority for us. So that 7.5% figure that I came to is, there's a 2.5% COLA that the staff receive, and then 5% step increase would seem to be reasonable, which leaves that 5% increment. So again, thank you for that vote of confidence, but I would ask you to consider that, and if that's something with which you agree, I'd ask you to vote on it.
Peter made a very magnanimous gesture just now because we did give him a big vote of confidence, trying to get him caught up to parity, basically, with other communities in our area. But if he's willing to do so, we would be remiss if we didn't accept his offer, and I would move that we accept his offer of rescinding his original raise from 12.5% to 7.5%, and allow him the discretion to take that 5% difference and put it into whatever account in the city that he so desires.
I'll second that.
Yeah, and he indicated that would be into some reserve fund. Rich?
When we were hiring Peter, I looked at his background and said, here's a guy who has leadership. Peter, you're proving us right. Let's vote on this.
And I just wanted to add, this is certainly not unprecedented. If you recall, a few years back, a raise was offered to the city attorney, at that time Jim Delapore, and he asked that be given to the Parks Department instead. So we have a similar situation here. So, Mary, do you have a good grasp of the motion then?
The motion is to rescind the 12.5% increase to the city manager salary and provide 7.5 and allow him to put the 5% into any city account he so desires.
Right, so in essence, it's still kind of a 12.5, but 7.5 on his compensation, and the other 5 going into a reserve account. All right, any other questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So move. Thank you, Peter. Any other comments?
Sure.
Staff, anything? All right, well, I guess, Dick?
Marilyn was talking about giving us a report on the mayor. I don't know, did everybody get that report?
No, they didn't. I've been exchanging email with the mayor the last 2 days, and happy to report that even over the course of yesterday, she went from very cryptic messages to full sentences with punctuation and all, so I could see some improvement there, and the messages got longer. Today, she and Steve came home this afternoon, and she wanted everybody to know that she says, if you can mention tonight how grateful we are for everyone's caring thoughts and sorry for the inconvenience. One thing I remember from the ordeal, I was pleased when Lebanon Fire needed help and picked up 2 of our medics from Station 13 en route to the hospital. That gave me comfort in knowing I was in good care. That's all I could see from the ambulance ride, the lieutenant's face. She says she won't be able to drive for 6 weeks, but she'll be able to get out some, she hopes, next week. And she still is uncertain about whether she needs surgery on her shoulder. She says she's covered with bruises, but she's really glad to be home and very glad that they designed their home to be ADA accessible. She can get into her shower with her walker if she needs to, and she said she didn't think they would be needing it at age 61, but it's doing them, they're glad that they live where they do.
Okay, that's some good news then. Okay, so we've got some upcoming meetings in work session August 6th and City Council August 8th, and with that, we're adjourned.